Glenn Lentz here. Welcome to the last day of the 12 days of plug and plays here on Spider Plays. Now, like I said, I have something very special for you guys. It's a plug and play that reflects a huge part of my childhood. Now, I believe this huge sexy box right here needs no introduction. It's a Nintendo Entertainment System. The console that single-handedly pretty much saved video games when the whole big crash was going on in like 1983. Nintendo marketed it as an entertainment system, not a video game system. It got packaged with Rob the Robot.
Will you be the one to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System? The one to play with Rob, the extraordinary video robot, batteries not included. He helps you tackle even the toughest challenge. Will you be the first to raise the incredibly accurate Zapper and play games like Duck Hunt or action-packed Hogan's Alley and high-flying Kung Fu, each sold separately? Will you be the one to experience the Nintendo Entertainment System? Comes with Rob, Zapper, Control Deck, 2 controllers, Gyromite, and Duck Hunt.
Before that, retailers really didn't want video games anymore because they were just oversaturated. Like, they were just everywhere, and there was a lot of shitty games.
Only from Atari. Made especially for systems from Atari. The video game that lets you help E.T. get home. Just in time for Christmas. Happy holidays from Atari.
And I guess that's where the official Nintendo seal of quality came from. Which doesn't always hold up to its name. Anyway, much like the Sega Genesis plug-and-play little console thing I just did, you're probably asking yourself, what's he gonna whip out this time? Well, this is what I'm gonna whip out. The NES Classic Edition. Whoa, hold the phone, Glenn. This isn't a plug-and-play. It can't be. It's an officially licensed Nintendo product. It's got official Nintendo games on it. It doesn't take batteries. That's usually what classifies a plug-and-play. Yes, you could be right about that, but I still classify this as a plug-and-play. But the best plug-and-play you could possibly get, well, other than the, Genesis Mini or the SNES Mini, but, we're just focusing on this for now. Now, much like every other plug-and-play, we're going to take a look at this console itself. Now, as you could probably tell, there's going to be a significant weight and size difference. The NES is obviously huge, bulky, and heavy. The NES Mini is very, very light. I think it weighs like less than my cell phone, actually. But it's a very faithful representation of the NES. It looks great. The plastic's all the same color, same everything. Here's where this thing shines, though. It's got an HDMI port, and it takes mini USB power source. I don't really care for that. I had a few power sources in here because I didn't get the original one that came with this, and they were all kind of loose and wiggly, but I found one that was tight in there, so it worked out alright. The HDMI thing is a huge step up as far as output quality. Of course, if you look at the front display, it doesn't take original NES controllers. It takes controllers that are compatible with the Wii system that plug in there. And then just like the original NES, you got your power and your reset button. As far as the controllers, don't worry. They come packaged with these babies. Pretty faithful. They feel just like an original NES controller. Very fucking nice, very responsive. I have no complaints with this controller. Time tested, approved, fucking great controller, one of the best controllers of all time, from one of the greatest systems of all time. But, and this is my main problem I have with this console, because throughout this review, I'm not really going to have any complaints about this thing, because I fucking love this thing. But here's my main complaint. Look at the fucking cord on this thing. This controller. Like, I'm looking at my camera, like, I should be able to outstretch this fucking cord like this far and not be able to see the width of it on camera. But this thing's fucking small. Like, to play this, you have to sit right in front of the fucking television, especially with the HDMI cord isn't even that long for this thing either. I don't know what they're expecting to achieve with this, but I solved the problem the first time I got this thing, and I got extensions for the wire. I'm assuming that's probably what it was too. You just gotta milk the consumer a little bit more, just to get a little bit more money out of you. But what sets this thing apart from other plug-and-play games is that it's not restricted to its main programming. And what I mean is that people unlock this fucker. That's right. And mine is unlocked. I hacked this fucking thing. It's supercharged now.
Well, goddamn, this thing is great when you unlock it. I was able to load all my favorite games that I have on cartridges. You know, the stuff I loved growing up. Not restricted by Nintendo's 30 games or programming. The emulation is pretty decent. Nearly 90% of games work with the emulators available on Hitachi. I can even play some cool rare and foreign games like Holy Diver, New Ghostbusters 2, and Splatterhouse. And even one of my favorites, Ultraman Club Kaiju Daikason. This game is fucking great. I can even play some hacks and homebrews that enthusiasts and fans have put together over the years. What else can this fucker do? Well, the hardware isn't just ideal for 8-bit NES games, but powerful enough for a big chunk of a lot of other great games from the golden years of gaming. Capable of running Super NES games. And Sega Genesis games at full speed. That's right, this fucker has blast processing, man. Nintendo does what Sega does, what Nintendo don't, but finally could 20 plus years later. Okay, there was no real way to bring that slogan back, let's just be real about this. I even got Super Mario 64 to work on this bitch, although Nintendo 64 emulation hasn't really been perfected yet, so I couldn't get other classics like GoldenEye to work, but hey, still pretty cool. You can even get other emulators to work pretty decently on this thing too, like games for the PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, and a lot of others, although I haven't tested them and there's not a ton of memory on this thing to house a number of larger games like that, so I just use this thing strictly for the old stuff. Now when it comes to the custom emulation, it can get a little bit technical and you might need a bit of time to set everything up. There's so many different options when it comes to display, loading cheats, and mapping the controllers to the different systems available on the console. Once it's all said and done though, it's worth it. It's pretty fucking cool.
Okay, with that out of the way, I'm still classifying this as a plug-and-play, even though, you know, hacking it pretty much turns it into a Raspberry Pi console. Like, a lot of those things that people build on their own with, you know, endless amounts of the retro games on it, all in one console with HDMI and all that shit. So it's nice. It's nice in that way, but to really distinguish this as a plug-and-play, we got to look at the factory settings of this thing, the games that it came pre-selected with, and just its original factory functions, without all the hacks and mods and all that shit.
Alright, well right out of the box this thing is pretty fucking cool already. The first thing you'll notice is the fun 8-bit music. I love it. It instantly makes me happy. It's an original track they made just for this console and it's pretty fucking cool. I like it a lot. If you end up just leaving the console dormant and not doing anything, the NES Mini goes into its demo mode where there's all sorts of cool retro NES sprites and shit, and all sorts of cool backgrounds at display. You got Mario running around hitting blocks and stuff. It's actually really cool, very retro, very nostalgic. It also plays demo for each of the 30 games on the roster. One of the best features of this is the utilization of save states. Being able to save your game is great. Gone are the days of leaving your NES on for long hours while you go to bed or while you're out so you don't lose your progress. That was always a fucking bitch. If you go up by the options menu, you get some stuff to play around with. It's got some pretty neat display settings. The first is a CRT filter. It makes the picture of your HD television look more like an old CRT TV, like my old RCA in the bedroom. Like the old days of gaming. You get the 4:3 ratio, which is like the standard ratio and automatic setting, pretty much. It's what you'd see anywhere on like any old TV or whatever. And then you have the pixel perfect option, which makes everything like really crisp and clear. Perfect representation of the 8-bit graphics and pixels. It's the option I use to record the gameplay footage for this video. In the other options, you can turn the demo on and off, the auto shutdown, the screen burn-in reduction. I don't know what that does and I haven't played with it, so I just left it alone. You get to choose your language. The legal notices are mainly for my emulators that I kind of put on here. We won't focus on that. Then you got the manuals feature. You can go download the actual NES manuals for these games, like the original ones. That's a pretty neat feature too. I haven't tried it, but at some point I probably will. Everything is very user-friendly and very easy to navigate. This is a very nice system. Now let's say you've already started a game, but you're not satisfied with what you're playing anymore. You get tired of a game, right? You can easily go back to the main menu without having to reset the console. All you gotta do is look at your controller, hold down and select, and after a few moments it takes you back to the menu screen where you can choose another game. Or if you have a Wii controller, you just gotta press and hold the home button. That's simple enough. Alright, well, now I always say that a plug and play is only as good as the games that are on it. And this thing has a lot of fucking games on it. And they're all pretty fucking good games because they're all old NES NES games. Now, if I were to give you an in-depth review of each one of these games, it would take me hours, so I'm just going to do my best to briefly summarize each game. It's more than likely that a lot of you already know what these games are anyway, because you probably run across them at some point, so it really doesn't matter. I'm still showing them off, and hopefully my tiny synapse for each one will be enough to convey the idea of what each one are. Number 1 is Balloon Fight, the classic arcade game where you send your opponents to their doom by popping their balloons. It's an arcade classic, but I never really got too much into it. It's alright though, it's not bad. Number 2 is Bubble Bobble, that classic yet odd dinosaur game where you shoot bubbles at guys and they turn into fruit and you eat them. It's kind of a confusing thing, but it's pretty fun. Number 3 is Castlevania, that classic legendary adventure where you take control of Simon Belmont to destroy the evil forces of Dracula. I've went on and on and on my channel about fucking Castlevania. I fucking love Castlevania. It's one of the greatest games of all time on the NES, and it really deserves to be on the console. At number 4, you got Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. Now this Castlevania adapts some RPG elements where you once again control Simon Belmont to collect Dracula's bones to dispel the curse and kill Dracula once and for all. Not a bad game, but it's not a great game either. I would have preferred having Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse on here, but thanks to my emulation software, she's on there. At number 5, we got Donkey Kong, that classic arcade game where you play as Jumpman, or, you know, Mario, to save your woman Pauline from that big-ass ape. One of the most classic arcade games of all time. I still love Donkey Kong. At number 6, we got Donkey Kong Jr., the classic arcade sequel where you control Donkey Kong's boy on a quest to save his dad from the abusive, diabolical Mario. Still pretty fun, but not as good as the original Donkey Kong. Number 7, you got Double Dragon 2. I would have preferred the first, but still it's a fun beat-em-up where you go on a mission as Billy or Jimmy Lee to avenge the death of Billy's girlfriend by the Shadow Warriors. The control layout's a little confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty fun. Number 8 is Dr. Mario, a Tetris-like puzzle game with Mario where you destroy viruses. It's alright. Never got too much into it. Still not as good as Tetris, but a lot of people love it, so it's on the console. There you have it. Excite Bike. There's that classic motorcycle racing game where you can build your own tracks. Whenever someone's discussing the NES with you, it seems like they always bring up this game. Seems like a lot of people had a lot of fond memories with it. Is it anything special by today's standards? Not really, but it's got its place in history, so they put it on the console. Number 10 is Final Fantasy. It's that highly praised RPG where you control a group of characters called the Light Warriors to save their world from evil and darkness. I don't know much about the Final Fantasy series, I just know that it's really, really popular. A lot of people really praise this series and a lot of people really love it. I played a little bit of it. It's alright, it's not bad. It kind of reminds me of Dragon Warrior to a degree. It's got its place on this console. It deserves to be here. Number 11 is Galaga, that classic Namco shooter that was the precursor to Galaxian. Not much to say about it that I haven't said already in the Namco plug and play. Pretty fucking good game. I enjoy it. Deserves to be here. Next. Number 12 is Ghosts and Goblins. That ball-crushingly hard adventure where you take control of a knight named Arthur on a quest to save his woman from Satan. This game is hard as fuck, and you have to beat it twice in order to beat the game completely. It's brutal, it's tough, it's unfair, but it's still addictive and fun. At number 13, we got Gradius. It's a great Konami side-scrolling shooter game that was the precursor to the amazing Life Force. This game's not as good as Life Force. The controls are a little bit stiffer, not as good, but it's still pretty fucking good. At number 14, you got Ice Climber. It's a classic vertical platformer where you break ice and smash enemies and continue to ascend to kill a condor who stole your vegetables. Yes, that's the story. I've never played this game until I got the NES Classic. I always heard about it. I always saw it in other people's reviews. I never had much interest in playing it, and after playing it this time, I still don't have much interest in it. Sorry, I just can't see the appeal in this one. At number 15, you got Kid Icarus, and I figured this one would make it to the NES Classic. It's a classic platformer where you control a character named Pit on a mission to save a Greek-like world called Angel and its princess. It's overly simplistic, but it's one of those classic side-scroller games when they were first beginning to put this kind of thing into production more. It's pretty good. Number 16, you got Kirby's Adventure, the sequel to Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy, where you play as that pink puff eating and spitting out enemies to recover a relic called the Star Rod. I've never really knew much about Kirby. I never really played many of the games. I played the one on Game Boy. I never played this one until I got the NES Classic. It's not bad. I'd prefer other games to this one, but it's still a pretty good game. Number 17 is the Mario Brothers Arcade. It's a very classic game. Classic defines this. I use the word classic a lot in this because all these games are pretty much classic, but this is a very classic game. Classic. It's the original Mario Brothers where you flip enemies and kick them off screen. Good times. They even used this game as a mini game in Super Mario Brothers 3 when you'd battle the second player if you didn't want to play a certain level. So whoever won, they'd have to play a certain level. It was a pretty neat addition to that. Still a fun game. The controls are a little bit odd, but it's still playable. 18 is Mega Man 2, considered the best in the series, and and I'd have to agree with that. You once again take control of Mega Man in his battle against the evil Dr. Wily and his robots. Lots of other Mega Man games have come out since Mega Man 2 with different abilities and different enemies, but everyone always seems to want to go back to Mega Man 2. It's the definitive Mega Man game, even after, the Mega Man X series and all of them. Number 19 is Metroid. In this one, you control a soldier named Samus Aran on a mission to recover the Metroid parasites from the space pirates who want to use them for biological warfare. And you also have to defeat an alien called Mother Brain. I always played Metroid a lot when I was a kid. Was never really able to get that far in it. I was never that good at it, but it was still a fun game, and it more than earned its place on this console. Number 20 is Ninja Gaiden. The hard as balls side-scroller where you control a ninja named Ryu on a quest to avenge his father after his murder. This one's a great game. Very, very classic NES game. It kind of controls similar, and the level layout is similar to Castlevania, which automatically makes it pretty good. Very, very, very fucking tough game, though. Number 21 is Pac-Man. And what can I say about Pac-Man that I didn't already say in the Namco plug-and-play video? It's that classic Namco arcade game everyone knows where you eat pellets to avoid the ghost, pretty much. Number 22 is Punch-Out with Mr. Dream. I guess they couldn't get the license or whatever for Mike Tyson. 'Cause it was, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out way back in the day. I don't understand why they switched over. I'm sure someone else has the logistics to that, but, it's Punch-Out. I've never really got into this game that much, but it's still fun once you get the hang of the controls and you memorize your opponent's moves. It's just good old boxing with funny cartoon characters. Number 23 is Star Tropics. This is one of my favorite RPGs that was ever made. Even over Zelda, I prefer this game. In this, he plays a character named Mike Jones who is on a journey to search for his missing uncle. A lot of different elements in this game. The graphics are great, and the music is just awesome. You need to give this one a try. Number 24 is Super C, the graphically and playably superior sequel to Contra. Once again, you control either Bill or Lance on an action-packed mission to destroy the evil alien forces of Red Falcon. This game is fucking great. For a while, I didn't really know if I liked this one or the original Contra more, but I'm glad they put this one on there because I've played this one a lot more since I first started playing it, since I first discovered it, actually. When I was a kid, I was aware of Contra, but never knew that it really got any sequels until I got a little bit older. And Super C is a very, very, very fucking great game. Number 25 is Super Mario Bros. What can be said about this game? It's one of those classics that define the NES. You should all know the story. Mario the plumber goes from castle to castle trying to rescue Princess Peach and ultimately defeat Bowser once and for all, even though he'd just keep coming back, even to modern times. Number 26 is Super Mario Bros. 2. In this one, Mario and the gang battle enemies in a dream world called Subcon on a journey to thwart the evil Toad Wart. This one was never actually a Mario game when it started out. It was actually a game called Doki Doki Panic after Nintendo of America decided that the actual Mario Bros. 2 was a little bit too hard for us American gamers. So they just reskinned a game called Doki Doki Panic and sold it to us as Super Mario Bros. 2. Still a great game. I have a lot of childhood memories with Super Mario Bros. 2. The gameplay, the mechanics, the music, the graphics, all of it. It's still a great game to this day. Number 27 is my all-time favorite game. To this day, it's my all-time favorite. Super Mario Bros. 3. Bowser is back and he kidnapped Princess Toadstool again, but this time Mario will have to battle his kids in 7 different worlds in order to reach her. This game was amazing. And from a documentary I just watched with a gaming historian, I guess it took $800,000 to put this game together. That's fucking insane. 2 years of development went into the game as well. This game has more than deserved its place on this console as well as history. It's one of the greatest games ever made. 28 is Tecmo Bowl. I fucking hate football, but people love this game. I mean, I guess it's okay for football, people like it, so it's on here. Number 29 is The Legend of Zelda. It's one of the greatest RPGs of all time. You control an elf named Link on a quest to recover pieces of the Triforce to defeat the evil pig guy Ganon and save Princess Zelda. I like Zelda. I've never gotten past it, but to be fair, I never put in as many hours as I could have to actually get past the game. It's still a very fun game. It deserves to be on this console as well. Number 30 is Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. Once again, you control Link on another quest to save Zelda from Ganon. The gameplay changes a little bit. It's not so much, like a top-down view. You get some side-scrolling levels in there too. This game is pretty tough. A lot of the townspeople don't really give you clues that actually help at all. It's just, nonsensical shit a lot of the time. Kind of like Castlevania 2. I'm not a huge fan of this game, but I also don't mind it either. It's alright. This is also the last game on the console.
Honestly, I have no complaints with this thing. The list of games on here perfectly defines what the NES was and its place in history. What it meant to all of us growing up and kids in the late 80s and the 90s. And honestly, a lot of people would look at this and say, Glenn, this isn't anything like those shitty 11 games you just played. But here's the thing, you had a number of years of these plug-and-play systems coming out. Then you had other companies, creating the Atari flashback consoles and the Sega flashback consoles, like the At Games ones, and they were fucking terrible. I think at some point Nintendo saw what all these companies were doing and said, hey, we can make something very fucking great. It could be something of a novelty. We can offer it at a reasonable price, and parents can introduce this to another generation of gamers out there. Kids could like these games, and a lot of kids do. My son will still play some of these, even though he's very into Fortnite right now and shit like that. But we'll forgive him for that. So it's a mini console that's kind of like a cute little novelty. It comes with pre-selected games that, not a whole lot of people thought they could really expand upon, but somebody did, and I did. So it's basically a plug and play, but it's one of the best fucking plug and plays you could ever fucking get, and I fucking love this thing. Now, I didn't really see a point to this thing when I first heard they were releasing this thing. Well, I got the NES already. I got a bunch of games. Why would I need something like this? But I love this because I can take it anywhere. And the other thing I want to get to is that since there's, Wii ports on this thing, there's a number of controllers you can use with the emulators too, which is very fucking nice. Now, the most standard one that you could plug into this thing and it works, it works with the NES Mini right out of the box pretty much without hacking it, is the Wii Pro controller, which is a very nice controller. What you'd expect to see on like a Super Nintendo. It's got the buttons that can emulate N64 pretty much. Got your two joysticks if you prefer using that. So that's an option, especially if you want two players and you hack the thing and you're playing games like Street Fighter 2 or Mortal Kombat and you want an overall decent fighting, arcade stick or whatever. These don't work that bad. I really like this controller. But there's even something else that I really love for this system that you can get. We're about to look at it. Now, this little guy right here is by far my favorite controller that I'm using with this. I'm going to buy another one. It's just a perfect all-around controller. It's the Hori Fighting Commander fighting stick. It's basically shaped like an SNES controller, but it also switches out the L and R down here. You have the L and R trigger buttons up here if you want them, but this works great for fighting games. It's almost like the Sega Genesis 6-button controller, and you got a shit ton of like turbo buttons and stuff. You can play any game you choose with it, really. I mean, unless you put N64 games on, this console, then you can't really use it with this, but by far, as far as my retro games, this is my my selected choice of a controller. Now, I didn't want to go into a long review about this controller or anything like that, but it's very good. Hori makes a very good fucking controller. It feels very, very faithful to a Nintendo controller. The buttons feel all quality. It's quality plastic. Very solid controller. I'd highly recommend this. I got it for $12. Go out and get one of these if you have this console. It's also Bluetooth too, so you don't have to worry about any fucking, wires or anything like that. And the Bluetooth works very good. It's very responsive. I have no complaints about this fucking controller. It only takes 2 AA batteries. So I guess we couldn't get out of a plug-and-play video without having to use some AA batteries, right? But it's fucking worth it, man. Well, I've already said a million fucks to describe how I love this thing. But I really do. I mean, going back to when I was a kid, I still remember when my dad brought the NES home. And I think it was 88 or 89, somewhere around there. And us kids are all really excited about it. I mean, we had a lot of games for it starting out. We had Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. I think everybody had that. We had a game called Xenophobe, Solar Jetman, Mario 2. Captain Skyhawk was one I mentioned in the Whack-A-Mole plug-and-play video by Milton Bradley. There's always something inherently special about the NES. It's like I said, it has its strong place in history for what it's done for video games. I mean, who knows if video games would even be around now if it wasn't for this. My son wouldn't have his Fortnite Cupheads and shit if it wasn't for this system coming back, kicking ass, and, giving us back video games. It still remains my all-time favorite console. The second would be Sega Genesis, of course, but this is the console I go back and play, forever throughout every year I was on this earth. You can't beat the games that are on this thing, and it's got such a vast library of games that you can always go back and find something new that you've never played and just experience it for the first time. It's not going to be as great as experiencing it as a kid for the first time, but it's still fun. I still have fun finding different games that I've never played before on the thing. What makes it even better is all the ROM hacks that people have made over the years for the NES and independent games that people have made for the NES. It's this whole thing is just a testament to what the system is and just the fact that people continue, you know, to honor the system. Now, is this console worth $60? Fuck yes. I mean, it's a simple little solution to a Raspberry Pi system. You can expand upon it with all this shit that I just showed you. You know, hacking it with emulators, ROMs, and different controllers and all that stuff. But if you have ROMs, make sure that you have the physical copy of that ROM. That's illegal. I have all those copies of these games. Just saying. Not only does this thing take me back and feel nostalgia about my childhood and memories of being a kid and, you know, my mom and dad buying this stuff for me for Christmas, it helps me prolong the lifespan of my original NES. This is the one that I had when I was a kid. That's the one my dad bought us, and I've managed to save it and keep it all these years, and I've maintained it. I even replaced some of the parts on it to keep it good so I can actually put cartridges on it and it fires up on the first try each time. And I love the thing. I want to keep it as nice as possible for as long as I can, and this is a nice little solution that I can, you know, play on newer televisions and stuff like that. So I really do appreciate this a lot. Well, anyway, you guys, I gotta cut this short. This has been a fun series of videos that I've done. It was a lot of work. It was me doing this every day in between helping my kid with school and work and at the factory and all that. So it was a daunting task, but it's something that I've really wanted to do, and I'm hoping that you all appreciate it and got a good laugh out of a lot of these. But my plug-and-play journey isn't done. I haven't come full circle yet. This was just 12 days of plug-and-plays. I have more plug-and-plays than that, even after playing some of the ones I originally played before this 12 days of plug-and-plays things went on. So there's going to be a couple more videos in 2020 of plug-and-plays. Right before I do the big fucking plug-and-play purge and get rid of them forever, and I'm never going to revisit them ever again, because I honestly don't like plug-and-plays. But it's just something I wanted to do, okay? I had to get this shit out of my system once and for all, just because I just kept getting these fucking things, and I just can't believe what they are and how much money was spent on them. And just these companies duping people. I mean, I guess it's just like the Tiger games, like I said in the first video. But anyway, you guys, I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart, from my small little family in this apartment, me and my son, to you guys. Merry Christmas, and I hope I brought you all a little bit of joy this holiday season, and I hope you got a few laughs out of it. I hope it lifted your spirits, because it's, you know, there's a lot of people in my life that this year didn't go very well for, me included. I had a lot more shit that I had to overcome, and a lot more hardships, a lot more stuff to just get over and try to move on the best I can. But I'm making out of this year alive, and, you know, somewhat unscathed. And I hope in 2020 that it goes good for all of us, and just a better lives come for all of us in 2020, because I think a lot of us deserve it. I love all you guys. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a very, very Happy New Year. Be safe out there. Thanks for watching these 12 videos. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. I'm sad to be done with it now. You can always catch me in the next video, whatever video that may be. Right, I love you guys. I really gotta go. Merry Christmas, everyone. And just remember.
Remember, the magic of Christmas lies in your heart.
My son hates this thing.